Good morning, students. I'm Ali Muhammad, your history teacher. Today we are going to discuss an historical topic, an important topic. The name of the topic is the Mauryans, the great Mauryans. In previous topic, before we are going to discuss this topic in a good way, in previous topic we have discussed about the great Indian ancient history. We have discussed the great Mahajanapadas, especially the Magadhas. At that time when Mauryans were trying to control, trying to occupy their own position, the Magadha was ruled by Nandas, the great Nandas. The last ruler who was ruled at that time of the emergence of the Mauryans, it was Dana Nanda. As far as the Dana Nanda is concerned, he was not liked by his subjects. He was not a capable ruler. That's why the Mauryans, the Chandragupta Maurya, tried to control, tried to occupy the northern India. Dear students, today, first of all, we'll discuss that who were the Mauryans, where the Mauryans came from. And there's a great controversy. There is a great contradiction about the origin and about the place of Mauryans. The Mauryans were the great rulers we know as far as the ancient history is concerned. But there are some sources that give us information about the Mauryans. The founder of the Mauryan dynasty was Chandragupta Maurya, the great statesman, the great ruler, the great consolidator, the great fighter, the great conqueror. It is believed by the historians that the Mauryans belonged to Kshatriyas. Katha Sarita Sagar, a drama, have given us information that Mauryans were the sons of Gupta dynasty. Foreign historians have suggested that Mauryans belonged to Persian. They belonged to Persians. The religious texts, the Puranas, the Vishnu Purana described Mauryans as Shudras, uprighteous people. The Deepa Vamsa and Mahavamsa, the Buddhist texts have described Mauryans as the tribe of Shakyas. The Buddha belongs to that very tribe. The Jaina literature also described the Mauryans as Kshatriyas. It was the period when there was controversy, when there were no central authority present in ancient India, in northern India. That's why we have seen at the time of Dana Nanda, we have seen the foreign invasions, the foreign rulers, the foreign powers have tried to occupy the Indian parts. Before we'll discuss precisely about the Mauryans, their development, it was the time when foreign rulers have occupied some places. Among the first were the Persian rulers, the great Cyrus. History gives us information about how Cyrus have ruled, how Cyrus have conquered. He came from Persia. And after Cyrus, he was the first. Dear students, you have to remember that he was the first ruler, the great Cyrus from Persia. He was the first invader, we can say, the first foreign invader, the first ruler who have established his administration in the parts of India, in the northwest frontier of India. And after Cyrus, the great Alexander from Macedonia, from Greece, after conquering, after defeating, after destroying the influence, the power of the Persians, he turned his attention towards North India. The great Alexander, his period started from 336 BC to 323 BC in India. In 327, Alexander marched towards Punjab. In 326, Alexander fought a decisive war, fought a historical war on the banks of river Hydaspes against the Porus king, the great Indian ruler Porus. In the very fiercest battle have fought by these two rulers, and eventually Porus, along with his soldiers, along with his associates, was defeated. He was killed, and the Alexander have occupied the northern part of Punjab. After few years, Alexander decided to return back to his homeland. The reason behind his back his homeland was that his soldiers were not ready to fight more wars because they were tired, because of the climate, because of the environment. That's why Alexander moved back to his homeland. On the way at Babylonia, during 323 BC, Alexander died. And his areas, his controlled areas, were now uncovered. Though Alexander returned back, he left his governor, he left his general Philip, the great Philip, and he ruled in absence of Alexander in Punjab. But it was a blessing. It was an opportunity. It was kind of I can say kind of a blessing for Chandragupta Maurya. He firmly decided to fight a war against the general Philip. As we know that these Mauryans were great conquerors, great fighters, and great administrators. Chandragupta Maurya, in his early days, he was born in 340 BC. As far as his culture and tradition was concerned, he was not king. Most of the historians believe that he belongs to a community whose occupation was rear peacocks. That's why most of the historians have suggested that the region where from the Mauryas came, it was full of peacocks. That's why we can say, if we talk about the Mauryas in Sanskrit and Maura in Pali language, therefore we can say that's why they were called Mauryans. But there was a person, there was a statesman, there was an administrator, there was a wise man, we can say history sometimes giving him tribute as a wise man, that was Kautilya. Chandragupta Maurya was helped, he was assisted by great philosopher, great statesman that was named as Vishnugupta. Kautilya, Chanakya, his contribution in bringing the Mauryans as a new dynasty was unforgettable. The governor Philip was very cruel. He was not liked by subjects. In 324, Chandragupta Maurya led a war, a historical war against Philip, and eventually in this battle, Chandragupta Maurya defeated Philip and conquered and annexed northern Punjab. This was the first achievement as far as the Chandragupta, as far as his career was concerned. After the Punjab was annexed by Chandragupta Maurya, then he turned firmly attention towards the Magadha, the great Magadha. At that time, Magadha was ruled by Dhanananda, as we have discussed in previous topic about the Dhanananda. Dhanananda was the last successor, the last incapable ruler of Nanda dynasty. As his character, as his abilities, he was also disliked by his subjects. The reason behind why Chandragupta Maurya have decided to annex, why he decided to annex the Magadha. Magadha was then a vast province, full of resources, and it was controlled. Everything was controlled by the Magadhan rulers. Chandragupta Maurya, with his great mentor, with his great statesman Kautilya, or we can say Vishnugupta, both have contributed in defeating the Nanda, the last ruler of Nanda dynasty. We don't have any concrete information about this battle, but there is, in the 3rd century AD, there is a drama that's known as Mudra Rakshasa, have given us information, have described that a fiery battle was fought between the two powers. And in this battle, Dhanananda and his kinsmen were killed. But Jaina texts, Jaina literature described that Chandragupta Maurya and Vishnugupta they have forgave Dhanananda and trusted him that leave the place immediately. That is a contradictory explanation given by the two literatures about the death of Dhanananda. It was 321 BC when Magadha was occupied by Chandragupta Maurya. After conquest of Magadha, Chandragupta Maurya turned his attention towards Seleucus Nicator. Seleucus Nicator, the governor general of Alexander, after death of Alexander, the Persian areas were controlled by Seleucus Nicator, and in keeping in view that I am going to expand, in order to expand his influence, he crossed northern parts and he decided to stay in India. And there was a fiery battle, a war, a historical war, a significant war. That was one of the greatest wars that Chandragupta Maurya have fought. And this time he faced the governor general of Alexander, the Seleucus Nicator. This war was fought in or about 305 BC. Seleucus Nicator and Chandragupta Maurya, both sides have lost their soldiers, but eventually Chandragupta Maurya have got victory over Seleucus Nicator. And there was a treaty, a historical treaty. A significant treaty was made between Chandragupta Maurya and Seleucus Nicator. According to this treaty, according to this historical treaty, Seleucus Nicator decided to provide Balochistan, Herat, Kabul was given to Chandragupta Maurya. And the number 2 point, that was according to this treaty, that Chandragupta Maurya, he married with the daughter of Seleucus Nicator. The 3rd point of this treaty was that Chandragupta Maurya gifted Seleucus Nicator 500 elephants. The 4th point of this treaty was that Seleucus Nicator sent the ambassador, the advisor, Megasthenes, the great historian of Greece. He was sent to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. And after this, Chandragupta Maurya, with the help of Kautilya, established his position, stabilized his administration. After defeating Seleucus Nicator, after conquering Punjab, and after establishing his administration in Magadha. Before he left Magadha, he appointed his successor. The next ruler of this dynasty was Bindusara. the son and the successor of Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara. From 298 BC to 273 BC, Bindusara ruled. Chandragupta Maurya left Magadha and according to Jaina texts, he spent his last days, he embraced Jainism and spent his last days, and then after that he died. As far as the Bindusara is concerned, we don't have information that how much wars he fought, what was his contribution in expanding the Magadhan, in expanding the Mauryan Empire. According to Strabo, according to Tarnath, the great Tibetan historian, that his Bindusara's contribution was he suppressed a revolt. A revolt occurred in Texla. That Bindusara, positively using his capabilities, he suppressed the very revolt. That is, his contribution. And he appointed his son, Ashoka the Great, he was appointed as the governor of this Texla. That was his contribution. And after the death of Bindusara, a great ruler, a great conqueror, a great statesman, a great well-wisher of his subjects, the great Ashoka came as a successor of the Mauryan dynasty. There is a contradiction about the war, the succession, the appointment as the king, as a king of we can say Maurya, that most of the historians believed that Ashoka have killed his 99 brothers. Most of the historians, most of the texts, the religious texts gives us information that there was a war of succession. There was chaos and confusion. There was a tussle. Before we are going to discuss about Ashoka, his abilities, his administration policies, his extension, the great war he fought, that's Kalinga war, that we have a number of sources. We have numerous sources that give us information about the Mauryan rulers, about their development, about their period, about their achievements. We have texts, we have archaeological evidences, we have numismatics, we have religious texts, we have Deepavamsa, we have Mahavamsa, we have Puranic, the great Vishnu, we have a Puranic texts, we have Jaina texts that give us information that throw an ocean of light about the Mauryan development, about the origin, about the rulers who ruled from Chandragupta Maurya up to the downfall of the Mauryans. And we have foreign accounts that give us information. The foreign accounts, we have a secular text that is known as written by Kautilya, that's Arthashastra, a valuable book, an influential book, a historical book written by Chanakya or Kautilya that gives information about the Mauryan Empire, about the Mauryan dynasty. And we have the accounts of Megasthenes, that is a book named as Indica, that gives also information about the Mauryans. So that's why there is a history is written. There is a lot of information that we know about the Mauryans because of these accounts. As far as Ashoka is considered, who have united the whole India, it was the time when India was politically weak. I'm talking about the Mahajanapadas, and it was Chandragupta Maurya who contributed a lot. Slow and steadily, with his policies, with his plans, he united these 16 Mahajanapadas, and more was added by later on by the great son of Chandragupta Maurya, the great Ashoka, who united the whole these provinces, and a unique kingdom was founded by great Ashoka. As far as Ashoka is concerned, he was initially, during his early days, he was very cruel. He He was a great warrior. He used to fight. One of the significant event that took place in the life of Ashoka, that was the conquest of Kalinga. Kalinga was a big province, a country, during the time of Bindusara, during the time of Chandragupta Maurya, and at the time of Ashoka. Ashoka decided to conquer Kalinga, and he decided to include in his own administration. Dear students, this is for today. We'll meet in next class. Till then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.